Let me start by saying I don't think you know George Mamalis until you've watched this conversation. This conversation went completely different to how I played it out in my mind. I thought I'd be asking him some questions about his upbringing, his childhood, and why he does what he does. We started there, but we jumped off the deep end and went into a different universe, and I think you're going to be intrigued, probably have your mind blown at a couple of different moments all the way through this conversation. It won't be for everyone, but at the same time, I think you're going to see a different side to George. I also think the stuff he talks about matters. There's something to it. Stay tuned. Enjoy it. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for watching. Well, George, absolute pleasure to have you here on the Gold Coast.
Thank you so much.
I want to cut straight in. I want the audience to hear straight from you. Who is George Mamalis? Who
is George? Okay, I'll go from the start. As a young kid, I was a very weird kid, let's just say. So I was super into spirituality, religion, theology, also science. Loved science as a kid. So at 5, I was obsessed with Egypt. Had my thing about Egyptian mythology, Greek mythology. So I got caught up in all that quite young. And by the age of 7, I literally believed I was an Egyptian.
Okay.
So I believed I was living a past life from Egypt, ancient Egypt. And I wasn't fully accepting my own life. So I had to go through a lot of problems quite young, where my teacher said, if George doesn't change, we're going to have to hold him back a few years because he just refuses to learn English. He refuses to socialize with the kids because all he wants to do is talk about Egypt all day and think he's Egyptian. So my mum's like, no, my kid's quite smart. I've seen him, he's super intelligent.
This would be celebrated these days.
Yeah, it used to be
You'd be told he is an Egyptian.
Yeah.
You'd be able to transition to being Egyptian.
Well, it's actually quite funny because this is actually, I've got a very, very peculiar theory about transgenderism, which we can talk about later.
Right.
I'd love to talk about it. But yeah, anyways, I believed I was Egyptian and my mum said to my mum, you have to take your kid to a kid psychologist and prove that he's normal. Otherwise, we're going to hold him back.
Right.
So mum did that. They got me tested. They did the washer test. My IQ came out quite high. I think it was 150. So they brought the results back to the school. The school was like, oh, okay, we have to accept that he is intelligent. He's just weird.
Okay.
And we can't hold him back because he's intelligent. But then that's when my mum went down the whole road of trying to find someone to help me. So at a young age, I was talking to psychics and all these spiritual cats. And so mum had me going around from psychic to psychic talking to them to try and help me out. So eventually I got to a past life transgression teacher and they did a past life transgression therapy on me where they worked through my entire past life. And I was lucky because in my past life I was a male. So I didn't have to fight the gender ideology stuff. It was just the letting go of the past stuff I had to go through.
Right.
And that's when I got through it. I did an exercise where I closed my eyes and they took me through my past life and it was kind of like a visionary thing. And I was quite young. Don't feel I was 6 years old. And then, I woke up from that and I got to accept my current life, let go of the past life. And then from that day onwards, I moved forward. But from a very young age, even though I couldn't conceptualize it quite well, I didn't have the words to explain what I was dealing with, I subconsciously had it imprinted inside me. So I knew growing up my whole life that this would always affect me in some way. And that's kind of what carried me forward. So I was always into strange, conspiracy theories, ancient history, spirituality, and also then deeply loving of science. So I loved theoretical physics, loved chemistry. I loved Albert Einstein, loved Leonardo da Vinci. So growing up as a kid, I was obsessed with the top minds and the Newtons of this world. And a lot of them were very spiritual as well. These guys weren't atheists. But then there was a stage of my life, and this is I'm telling the whole story now.
Yeah,
so forgive me, but I did go for a stage where I started reading Richard Dawkins, and there was this new age atheism thing happening where being atheistic was cool. And basically I went through an atheistic stage for quite a while where I basically removed all God and went to nothingness. And I became almost, I would say an atheist, but in reality I was more an agnostic. Right. But on the surface, I seemed atheist. So I was telling people that I don't believe in God and all this stuff and oh God, that's just a myth to control people. So I had that for a while. And then flash forward to 16, I started smoking cigarettes.
Right.
So I was smoking cigarettes quite a bit. And then eventually I started having health issues because I was smoking so many cigarettes and I was spitting out blood. I was phlegming. Had anxiety attacks from the shortness of breath. Went to the doctors. They said, we don't know what's wrong. We can't figure it out. And then eventually they're like, you got to do a CAT scan. So flash forward to I'm 23 years old, still kind of atheistic, agnostic at this point of view. 23 years old, they're like, you have to do a CAT scan. They do a CAT scan and they find a lump in my left lung. And hearing this news, initially like, don't have to worry. We'll come back in 6 months, do another CAT scan. If the lump's grown, then we'll worry. But in that period of 6 months was complete torture, mentally, health. And because I was removed from God at that point in time, I had nothing to fall back on. I just was in my own mind, consumed by these evil thoughts, this darkness of thoughts. And I remember being at my friend's house after a night out. We were drinking a lot. I was just curled up on the floor, kind of shaking in fear. And I just looked at my life and I was like, what's going on? Why am I spitting blood? Why am I dealing with this anxiety? And I said, enough's enough. And I closed my eyes and I remember just praying and reaching out to God for the first time in probably like 6 or 7 years. And I closed my eyes and said, God, please forgive me. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. And the third time I said, please forgive me, I just felt like this weird gold light. That's the best way to describe it, because it kind of just hit my head and then kind of poured over me. And then I just passed out. And in the morning I woke up and I said, wow, I must have been really drunk last night. What was that? And I initially kind of rejected what happened. But in my subconscious mind, this conscious mind is subconscious mind. The subconscious mind knows the truth, but just hasn't caught up yet. The conscious mind deals with the ego, so it wants to get confused. So my consciousness couldn't really grasp what happened, and because I was also trying to be this atheist, but it really turned my world upside down. And I didn't just become Christian all of a sudden again. Like, it took months and months. I actually got involved with occultism, Hermetic philosophy, and I wanted to know what happened to me. Why did I ask for something and then receive this thing? Right. And just to give you a vivid feeling of what it was, after I woke up, I felt good again. Like, I would say 70% of my problems went away in terms of health and anxiety. I could breathe normally again. I went to the toilet, spat on my hand, no blood. First time in years, no blood. I was like, what the hell? So like, it really took me and shook my world completely. And that's when I really went down the path of studying so much into spirituality. So I left atheism, went straight into metaphysical understanding. I read about Albert Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, Isaac Newton, even like Crowley, all these, like even the dark side of it, Golden Dawn. I explored into Hermetic philosophies, ancient astronaut theories, everything I could go through that was to do with this type of phenomena. Law of attraction, all these things that you hear of, affirmation technologies. And then I eventually came across a man called Daskalos, who was a Christian mystic from Cyprus who died in 1994. And he was a super, super well-known master of masters, they call them. So he had the ability to heal. So he could heal people with cancer, with like the kind of like Jesus levels of healing and miracles. He's very esoteric, so it's not like mainstream news. You have to go search for him. But Daskalos was very renowned, and he would help everyone from Jew to Muslim to he didn't care who you were. He would help you. And then I got into that, and it just completely reconnected me with my roots, being an Orthodox Christian. And I look back at Orthodoxy and Christianity and what I realized through that prayer I did initially, which kind of healed me miraculously, was that, there is a relationship with the universe. And if you don't connect with the universe one-on-one, if you don't communicate and ask for forgiveness, ask for help, then it's not going to look after you. It'll still love you. It's like a father, right? Your father will always love you most of the time. Your father will always love you, and your father will always be there for you in a perfect world. Right. But you sometimes should ask your father how he's going. You having a good time? Ask how his day's going. And he will love that. Your father will love that. So most people treat their father kind of like crap and ignore their father. But I decided at that moment, it's time to stop ignoring my father and start having a chat.
How do you reconcile now, or do you reconcile now with some of the, a lot of people who watch this will be Christian. They're going to be blown away by the first 3 minutes of this conversation. And they're like, what are we? Yeah, we're going to get to exactly the mission you're on now, right? But this paints a picture. One of the things I just want to touch on, because I think it is important or curious. How do you reconcile with your beliefs now? We probably don't have time for a 6-hour theology lesson, but your beliefs now, how do you reconcile with the idea of the previous lives you said you talked about that you dealt with? Or was this something in your imagination, or are you still working that out? Or
No, okay. The experience was so profound, so it wasn't like a cognitive bias thing or like some sort of science thing where I was like trying to come from a place of like just coping. It wasn't like a coping mechanism. These were like the prayer was a real like I was a full atheist at that moment, so it was a direct miracle that directly cured me almost.
Right.
In like a very quick moment, it was a very noticeable change. So. Because I'm quite hypercritical of everything, hence why I love science. So just for you guys to know, at home I have a science degree. I studied mineral geoscience. I looked into physics, chemistry. Like I love science. I love all the top greats. So it was so profound and monumental. It completely shifted me to a point of like I just couldn't ignore it. So, and even as the highest critic, I still had to just grapple with what I was dealing with. And it kind of re-injected me back into my childhood. You're right. So I got to fall back into my childhood and be like, remind myself, George, remember what you experienced when you were a kid? Like all these things were with you the whole time and you've just been ignoring them because you somehow convinced yourself that you're an atheist.
How do you, but do you still believe in the story that you told yourself as a kid? That you had a previous life and stuff like that?
Yeah, so
that would be confusing to a lot of
I'll
Christians.
explain in the best way possible because this is, like the stuff I'm talking about is pre-Nicene Creed stuff. So I'm a Gnostic / esoteric Christian. So obviously, Emperor Constantine did the Nicene Creed. He got all the top Christian theologians of the time to come together with the Roman Empire to then create agreements to canonize Christianity. Because before the Nicene Creed, Christianity was all over the place.
Was this the Trent Council at that time?
Yeah, the Nicene Creed. Yeah, the Nicene Council. So it was basically the formation of Christianity and centralized power of Christianity. Before that, Christianity was more of a phenomena. It was more just that Christ existed. Christ carried, his disciples. The disciples went out. A lot of them got martyred, but their word spread, and it was like an organic movement. That didn't have any rules. It was kind of very loose. And this is where some of the top theologians came, like Alexander of Origin, who was kind of the proponent of what I'm speaking of. But my point is, before it was canonized, before it was centralized Christianity, there were these ideas because Christianity was like this beautiful new thing. And I kind of am going to that realm where the reality is, for me at least, Christianity is something that is deeper than just what it was centralized into in Nicene Creed. It's actually a lot deeper than that. And most Christians will feel that internally. The problem is a lot of like normies, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with this, by the way. A lot of the population needs just a simple way to do Christianity. They don't want to go deep into the esoteric stuff. It's not for everyone. This is probably for the 10%. That doesn't make you worse or better. It just means it's not your personality style. For me, my Christianity is that this universe is one of an infinite amount of infinities. So I believe in infinity universes, multiverse theory. I believe that string theory, quantum mechanics, theory, relativity all connect all these things. That in reality is that this is all nothingness. Our particles are never existing in one place. They're always moving around. So they're always existing in an infinite plane, infinitely moving with other particles. And they're all connected in this vast infinity of infinities. And this is kind of like what God's consciousness really is. But not the universe itself, more the simulation of God that God's trying to imprint into humanity.
Right.
So the idea is that you could live past lives, that you could incarnate, which is an old Christian logos, that incarnation, the idea of reincarnation, God resurrection, that the first will be last, that all humans have a soul, all humans, like hell isn't a place where it's a dimension. By the way, this is really controversial stuff we're talking about. I hope that's okay.
I'm just listening because I've been saved 10 years. So my experience of Christianity is my own connection with God.
Yeah.
And what I read in the canonized scripture.
Yeah.
That's my experience of Christianity.
Yeah.
I believe in a couple of foundations of I believe that Jesus is who he said he was, that he died, was resurrected, and that I now have relationship with the Father. Because now that when the Father looks at me, he doesn't just see my sin, he actually looks at me through the blood of Jesus and sees his son.
Yeah.
That's as deep. That's pretty deep for most people, right?
Yeah.
That's as deep as I've gone with it.
Yeah.
But I am curious to hear about, because I've had weird experiences right in my life before I was a Christian as well. A lot of unanswered questions. And the thing that stood out straight away when you talked about previous lives, I've heard many Christians kind of shut that conversation down.
Yeah.
Reincarnation shut down. So I wanted to touch on it for just a little bit longer before we go into what you're doing now, because it does paint a picture of who is George, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just to be clear, I don't want to take away from the canonized Christianity. I don't want to take away from the Orthodox Catholic Church. Right. So I'm not advocating for, like, you listen to me, like, this is stuff that I've gone down in my personal life. And a lot of this could be considered heresy in terms of, because it's outside the Orthodox religion. So I have a deep fundamental respect for Orthodoxy and for Catholicism. The rest of the denominations, I don't know yet. I'm still grappling with that.
Right.
So what I'm about to explain is I'm not trying to take away from Orthodoxy. I'm just trying to give you a little bit extra. And this is stuff that normally those monks would live those lives where they're alone, would keep to themselves. What I'm doing right now is sharing and expressing things that probably I shouldn't share and express about. But I think part of my purpose when you asked who is George is to share this stuff with you guys.
Yeah.
Because I feel that it's part of my life as well, the journey. Because I grapple with that with my content. I'm like, am I just causing more divide? Am I causing more problems instead of sharing what Christ's true message, what God's true message is, that we are all connected, that we are all infinitely connected in this space? So I'll summarize it as quickly as I can. Basically, there is no hell. Hell is a journey. So we are all incarnating and reincarnating forever. God is our Father. Our Father will love us forever. And that includes the angels, Lucifer himself. God would show mercy to Lucifer if he repented. So that's the ultimate chapter of love. If Lucifer one day turned around and said, I'm sorry, God, for doing what I did, for allowing the fallen angels to happen, and repented, Christ is the Father. He has mercy on all of us. So Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on us. Goes out to everyone, including the angels. So if Lucifer and these angels are listening, the Father loves you.
And for those watching at home, for Jeffrey Epstein.
Everyone.
And the absolute parasites of our society, right?
Yeah. So every single person. So the idea is that there is no such thing as evil. Evil is a creation of the human ego. So God is not capable of evil. God is perfect love, perfect truth, perfect creation. God is perfect. He wouldn't. So when people go, why would God do this? Why would God never did that. That was the human ego. That is the material world creating what we call evil. But evil is not a creation of God. Evil is a creation of free will. So God created free will, and humans have used free will to create evil through the ego. So our life, you're a carbon vessel. You're a bunch of subatomic particles put together. You're a carbon expression created from the stars. You have senses, 5 senses, that create controlled hallucinations of your existence. So in reality, you're not really a living thing. You're just kind of put together in like a machine almost. And your soul is what gives you who you are. But in reality, you're just a material body. One day you're going to die and you're going to leave this place. But your energetic soul will still exist and either go back to the realm for 40 days where you will then make a decision on what your next chapter in life is. It might be going back to heaven, but then that's the question. The first will be last. Christ said, and God said the first will be last. I don't think Brody was going to go back to heaven and go, all right, guys, see you later. I'm done. Everyone can suffer in evil and hell forever. I'm going to go to heaven now. See you. I don't think Brody would do that. I think Brody would want to go back and help his fellow brothers and sisters out. Come back again, do another life, do it all over again, and making a 1% little difference every single time he reincarnates. Every single time he comes back, brings everyone back to God slowly and slowly. So my belief is that everyone is centralizing back towards God's love because God is an infinite amount of love, infinite amount of perfect love. He will never give up on us, even if it takes eons. If it takes our soul eons to go back to God, then that's what it takes. So the first will be last. So you might find Christian enlightenment first. You might go back to heaven, but your job is not done. Bro's going to be like, no, I'm not done. The first will be last. I'm coming back until I'm the last one back because that's when everyone's saved. That's the true kingdom, that's the true kingdom of heaven. When every soul is saved, including the angels who have fallen, every single one of them will have to repent to God eventually. Because God's love is infinite and perfect. The Father would never punish us. Why would the Father, our God, create a place like hell for? That makes no sense. If God is perfect love, if God is perfect creation, then his creations are perfect. So they have to come back to a centralized point at some point. If that takes 10,000 years or 1,000,000 years, then it will. So that's kind of where I grapple with. And that's where I was disconnected with some of the Orthodox Catholic teachings because I just didn't understand the idea of hell. And what I came up to quickly was that hell... You got to remember the Roman Empire was a vast empire, kind of like what we have now. The American Empire is essentially the Roman Empire. And the Romans knew, and Constantine knew, that if he wants to control this empire, he can't put the genie back in the bottle. Christianity is out. It's a Christ consciousness experience. It changed consciousness forever on a quantum physical level. People call that pseudoscience, whatever. But it's changed human consciousness forever. So Constantine was very intelligent, very connected to Christianity. He said, okay, we can't control this. We have to be with this thing. But I want to make rules around this thing so that the Roman Empire survives. Because if we don't make rules, Christianity will destroy the Roman Empire. So that's why Constantine decided to canonize Christianity and make strict rules. So now the idea of hell wasn't this phenomenon of existence in the universe and perfect love. Hell became a place that you go to if you don't listen to the Roman Empire, if you don't listen to the priests, if you don't listen to the rule structure. And that's actually where it gets twisted. So the truth of Christianity is that the real love and truth of understanding Christianity is introspection. It's within here. The church is a beautiful place. Don't get me wrong. We need the churches. The churches did keep the Roman Empire alive. So I'm not trying to make Constantine wrong, by the way. I'm not saying what he did was wrong. I'm not saying it's the immoral thing. Maybe that's what needed to happen. Maybe Constantine knew in his heart of hearts he had to canonize Christianity for its own survival. But where we lose in that is the esoteric stuff that I feel gets lost. The thing is, I don't think normies want to even think about this stuff most of the time. So there's only a certain amount of the population that wants to explore these ideas. So this isn't for everyone. This podcast won't be for everyone. They might be interested by it, but it might not change.
They probably thought we're going to talk about immigration to start with. We've gone a different route. I reckon my producer Michael here wishes he had a microphone. He's over there going, what in the world is going on right now? But he loves it. He'd have a lot to offer too. Well, this brings me to a point where I want to ask, if you're happy to go there.
Yeah, of course.
Just give us a quick little rundown of what was the upbringing. You've given me a little bit of like who you were. Two parents, mum and dad, both in the household. Were they Christians? Just fast forward into like a 25-year-old, but include what your parents were like.
Okay, so my father was born in Stuttgart, but is Greek, so he was there just temporarily. He was conceived there, but he grew up in Greece. My mother was from a Greek family, but was born in Melbourne. Yeah. So my upbringing was fully Greek, basically. And then my mum went to Greece, found my dad. They got married, came back to Australia, essentially, and then had me. So I was born in Adelaide. I grew up in a household where we didn't speak much English initially. It was mostly Greek, a little bit of English, and I tried my best to speak Egyptian. And then
still touching on that childhood, right?
Yeah. And then my father is a painter, owns a painting business, and was very successful. My mother worked in Telstra for 33 years or 32 years in corporate Telstra. She was one of the high-rank execs there for looking after 3 states for TBS, Telstra business specialist. So I know I wasn't like uber rich or anything like that, but I was definitely on the higher end at the public school.
Good upbringing.
Yeah, good upbringing. Had my Game Boys, had everything I ever wanted, Pokemon, all that. And then eventually my mum and dad decided to sacrifice everything and send me to St. Peter's. Okay. Which was very expensive, which is it's like it's probably one of the top schools in the world, top schools in Australia for sure. It's like Hogwarts, basically. You got to see it. And that's when my world completely changed. When I had to go from like this Greek rich wog to like I have to anglicize myself to survive at this school. Right. So I did all that, made some really nice connections. I wasn't much of a studier.
Really?
No. I literally got by just turning up.
You didn't need to study.
No.
Is what you're saying.
No, but I wish I could.
You were studying your own stuff.
Yeah. I literally just passed because I knew I didn't have to. I was more into like socializing, trying to get a girlfriend, trying to make friends. I used to host parties. Like at my house, I had 1,000 people at my house once. 36 police rocked up to my house, and good. Like I was like full party animal. Like my house was basically a nightclub. 4 of my neighbors moved in a year because I had so many parties at my house.
So this will take us to a little bit that I know about your 20s at least. You kind of, right now, look, you've been around the politics game for a long time, at least speaking about it. You've been involved on the front line of stuff for a while. There would be a lot that people don't know about you, but you're one of the early Instagrammers, right? Yeah. Tell us about that, your experience there.
Yeah, so I started an Instagram platform called The Adelaide Set like 13 years ago now. So
when did Instagram become...
Well, 2010, 2011 was when Instagram started blowing up at high schools. Right. And it was initially just a platform to like take photos of your friends and show off. And it was for the popular kids, like the popular kids at Instagram at these high school, private school. So we all had it. 2010 is when I first got Instagram, and we were using it to showcase our lives and look how cool we are. And
no video at that time, right?
Photos no video, just photos. So what happened was I went to Bali actually for the first time, and I was using Instagram there socially. And I found a page called the Bali Bible, which was revolutionary because I used that to go everywhere. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I can find all these cool cafes, bars. So when I got back to Adelaide, I was like, why is there no like Bali Bible for Adelaide? Why is there no like Adelaide page?
Oh, so that was the name of the page.
Yeah, the Bali Bible. Yeah. So
Okay.
which is actually I just think of a connection with the Bible. Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't like that. It wasn't a Christian thing. It was just like how to find a cafe in Bali.
Yeah.
So yeah, I said, okay, screw it. I'm going to make it. So I literally did a huge launch party. It's called the Adelaide Set. And I created this page where I basically went up to about 50 businesses and I said, I'll come to your business every week and I'll take photos of everyone and at the cafe. So I was doing like nightclub photography, but at a cafe.
Yep.
Get everyone's names and I'll post on a website. So everyone that went to that cafe that day would have their names and like, oh, I was at this cafe. And so in Adelaide, there's a phenomenon where people love to be photographed at places because there's a famous magazine there called SA Life where they take photos of people and have their names. So I kind of bit into that culture a little bit and that was wildly successful. So within the first 6 months, I gained like 8,000 followers with the Adelaide Set. So
Big numbers for back then.
back then, yeah, it was huge. It was
Yeah.
like overnight success to the point where like even with 8,000 followers, I couldn't really walk the streets without being stopped and asked for a photo or something like that. It was
Right.
crazy. Then eventually I got to 30,000 followers and it just kept growing and growing. And I was just doing that, supporting small businesses. So it was very like support small business, entrepreneurship.
How old are you at this point?
So I started 21 and I was like, 2021 and probably till my mid 25s I was doing
Okay,
this.
so a really young man.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I was literally just winging it. But I was like
Okay.
super into like just entrepreneurship and like just giving it a
Amazing.
go.
Yeah.
I wasn't making a tremendous amount of money, but I was making enough at a young
Yeah, you were doing your thing.
I was doing my thing and I was building a name for myself. It wasn't political at all. It was political in essence because supporting small business isn't a political thing by essence. So I was already causing trouble around me. But then I had to deal with competition. So the competition then, there was other pages that were springing up and they were quite vicious as well. So I had to deal with them. So I got to learn quite young how to deal with competition and networking, emailing. So I had a team of lots of young people, probably like 30 to 40 young people working around me as volunteers to help out. And it was good because it was a good way to bring young people together to be entrepreneurs, to get out of their shells. So I was helping anyone. Anyone was allowed to join this thing I created. I had even gay people join, like stuff like that. So people are, oh, George is a homophobic. No, I had gay people. I helped them through what they were dealing with. People who were having troubles at home. And then the opposite. Some people who were having amazing lives, but they just wanted to show up and do something cool.
Yeah.
And eventually I got into the hospitality industry. I was running a place called Club Tropicana every Thursday, which was a huge popular place that ran for about 2 years. One of the biggest Thursday nights in Adelaide. Amazing. On a balcony, old pub overlooking the city. Perfect. So I did that for a while. And then my life changed 2020 when I was 24, 25, when I had that moment. That kind of was the moment that
Smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
The health issue.
The health issues. When I was drinking almost every single night.
Right.
Tequila shots. So I gained a lot of weight. I gained about 30 to 40 kilos.
Okay.
So I got really heavy. I just went through a breakup. I was with someone for 4 years and I thought, I was going to marry this. Like I was very like into Christian, like you marry the first person you meet, you're like, you fall in love, but that didn't work out. So I had to deal with a breakup, the single life, all that. That was a bit of a shock to me. And then eventually, I just went to America. Essentially, my best friend at the time, Hamish, was like, I'm going to America for 6 months to study. Do you want to come with me?
What year is this?
This is 2016. Yeah, 2016.
Okay, the birth of Trump.
Yeah, so this is when Trump was happening.
Right, let's go.
So we were there. So I actually was in New York City when Trump won the election. So I was 100 meters away with Trump.
Incredible. What do you mean 100 meters away?
So he was at I can't remember if it's the Hyatt or the Hilton back then when he found out he won the presidency. So we're literally just in the same vicinity, like right outside.
Amazing.
Because what happened was initially me and my friend were at the Hillary Clinton camp because everyone in America was saying Hillary Clinton was going to win.
And you weren't really political at this point, right?
We were, but we weren't. Like we deep down wanted Trump to win because like for us it was more the masculine kind of.
Right.
You know, this is before the Epstein stuff. Like I knew about the Epstein stuff because of Alex Jones. I watched a lot of Alex Jones growing up as well.
Did you, at the time, just for context, for people watching who know this world, did you believe in, the Hillary list back then as well? Like, were those things around?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Like I was fully into Alex
you're into
Jones.
it.
I was aware. I was
Okay.
aware. Like I wasn't just like total, but I wasn't publicly out there. I was subconsciously and I was studying.
Right.
But I wasn't outwardly supporting Trump in the way people, because I was still had the Adelaide set, and the Adelaide set back at home was still like I was still considered cool with the lefties.
Okay.
Until I had my first cancellation. So I got cancelled really hardcore where I lost everyone basically. And I'll explain that as well if you want. But yeah, so we were there when Trump. So what happened was at the Hillary Clinton camp, which was at the Rockefeller Center, when Trump won
course.
Florida. Yeah. When Trump won Florida, everyone around us started melting down, crying, fighting, screaming. And me and my friend Hamish were like, what is this? This is kind of shit. Let's go to the Trump camp. Like, do we want to sit here with a bunch of losers? Let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
So we went to the Trump camp, which is like near the Fox HQ. And we get there and it's just flags, there's flares, people screaming and laughing and dancing. We're like, this is way better. Like, you know, we're young men.
Still the case today between the two sides.
This is in the middle of New York, by the way.
Yeah.
So like, this is the heartland of like the most woke capitalistic city of the world. And we were having the best time. And we were there till like 6 a.m. in the morning. And we were just following around all the, you know, the cool things, going to Trump Tower, where we ended, when we knew Trump was going to win. We went to the Hilton, the Hyatt, I can't remember. I'll just say the Hilton, the Hilton Hotel. And we were literally in about, I'd say 100 to 50 meters away from Trump as he found out. So we were like in the presence of Trump when he would have learned he was becoming the president. And then, we were just getting interviewed by like Huffington Post and stuff. It was pretty funny. Me and my friends.
Because you were the random Aussies around.
Yeah, the random Aussies. So they were like, everyone wanted to talk to us because they could hear the accents. All the news channels are like talking to us and we had no idea what we were talking about. We just laughed. My whole thing was like, guys, if you're about to get a new pilot of a plane, you want him to do a good job. Like, why would you wish that your pilot does a bad job?
Yeah.
And all the comments, you could see the Huffington Post like, these Aussie guys are dickheads. Like, they don't represent us. That they were getting so triggered by us saying this.
Yeah.
Saying, guys, just calm down. Like, let Trump just do his thing. They didn't like that. So that was really an interesting period to be there. I actually came back to Australia after New Year's Eve. We spent in Canada. But my friend ended up staying there, Hamish, and he actually got to go to the inauguration of Trump and was row 12 or 20, like very close. Basically, could see Trump doing his famous speech, 2016. So, and he said it was the biggest crowd he's ever been to in his life, and it was like an extraordinary experience. But yeah, look, back then we were young. There was none of this Epstein stuff, and there wasn't this divide with the Nick Fuentes movement coming through America First. So it was a very like a together moment back then.
Incredible experience to be there for that too. Because it's a, I would say, a divine moment in time as well, just for Trump to be in office, and then again he's in office now. One of the things you said there about, isn't that funny? And it's very true in politics today as well. Like you referenced, you know, if you've got a new pilot, you would like the flight to go well.
Yeah.
But people would rather the pilot they don't like, regardless of how the flight goes. And in politics right now, people, you know, if we touch on, say, Pauline Hanson for a second, or Trump, they don't care about the result. If the country gets better or not, they just hate those people. And they, over and over again, we've seen it with our two majors here in Australia and again in America, personality seems to win all the time, regardless of policy. I have these conversations over Christmas dinners with people who most of my family think different to me.
Yeah.
But have you experienced that since then? I'm trying to work out at what point you got political, but you're logical. You like to dig in and you kind of make assumptions or you assess and you get to a point of be like, well, it'll be madness to think this. All the evidence is here.
Yeah.
And that's how I landed with people like Trump. I'm like, well, I don't care if he's a bull in a china shop. What he's saying is right.
Yeah.
And he's going to do it. What's your experience been?
Okay, this is hard. So I believe in something called elite theory. So to me, politics is like Hollywood. It's kind of just a show. And to be honest, politics is 70% how you look and how you optically look towards the people. So
Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, like you got to look good. And I think that's why Peter Dutton lost so badly because he literally looked like an evil man, like a Voldemort-looking character.
Like a Bond villain.
Like that should have been an easy win. Like Australia should be liberal right now, but it's not because they just put forward the most disgustingly looking man ever. It doesn't matter what he says. He looks like a thumb. You know, you can't have that as a winner. Albanese is not good looking, but he has a certain charismatic appeal to him, like a little punk kid. I don't know how to
Well, they rebranded him.
Yeah.
He was 20, he was probably 15 kilos lighter than he is right now.
Yeah.
Remember when they did that rebrand?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, tucked his shirt in. Good.
Yeah.
He looked like the successful business contract administrator, basically, in Brisbane.
And politics is very superficial. So just to be real, policies are almost irrelevant. I said 30% is about policies. The rest is on optics and looks. And you can see that in South Australia with our Premier. His policies are trash, but he looks great. And especially to the one where you got the female mind, which loves the gaze of a male gaze, and he's a good looking guy. Well, he won the election because he took his shirt off at a pool and showed off his body. Great body, So the girls are like, we'll vote for him. Why am I going to trust this? Why would I trust David Spears or Vincent Tarzia? They look like evil characters in a movie. So it was an easy win. And I think the Labor Party knows this. The Labor Party are fully in tune with looks maxing. They are part of the looks maxing community. One of the first things the Labor government do is they give you a new wardrobe, new haircut, new everything. They know how important looks are. Liberal Party has no idea about looks. So that's the first thing about politics that I think everyone at home needs to know. It's as simple as that. It's the way you look and the way you speak, the way you feel. That's the most important thing in politics. So I don't take politics very seriously in that sense. I believe in elite theory. I think there are elites who are they are incompetent, but they are as competent as they can be because these are the top echelon of human beings. They control lobby groups. They control. By the way, I don't want to cause clash here, but I'm not fully on board with Sam's idea of abolishing lobby groups. I think I need to explore the idea more, but the reason why I say that is in South Australia, our government recently banned political donations. The only problem is now we have like a North Korean dictatorship because the only way parties can get money is through votes. So for every vote, you get $1 or something like that in South Australia. So now the Labor Party, which dominates voting, will always get the money.
Yeah.
So there's no lobby groups to help give money to the Liberal Party or One Nation.
Yeah.
They can never outcompete the Labor Party. So what it's created is a situation where the Labor Party will just dominate elections forever moving forward. As long as they get the votes, they will always have the money. So I don't know completely if getting rid of lobbying is the right way. I think the Australian lobby thing is a much better idea. Just don't get rid of lobby groups. Just create competitive lobby groups that can do the work. So I actually praise Sam in that sense. I just don't think eliminating lobbyists will be a great thing because then it comes down to tax. Like politics is run by the taxpayers. It becomes quite a communistic system then. So I still have a belief that, I think lobbying has its place when done well. But right now, lobbying has been lazy and foreign entities have come in and big business has come in. Big pharma, we saw it during the pandemic, has come in. And that's what dominates politics now. It's those lobby groups. So I would say don't get rid of lobby groups. Make better lobby groups. Make better lobby groups.
Which is what they've obviously come alongside himself and Scott are doing the Australian
lobby group.
Right?
Yeah, that was a very positive move, I think. So yeah, I think for everyone at home, politics is looks. It's a Hollywood act. It's just an illusion, really. The real politics is with the elite, and elite theory suggests that it's a very Machiavellian type world. The elites and those. And when I say elite, I mean the top 5% of this world: the business owners, the powerful, the ones that control the systems, the banking, the debt, the finance systems. I mean, if you really want to get crazy with this, like, when did wokeism start? It was after Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street was a genuine movement with people we call them indigo children or out there children who got together. It didn't matter what color skin you were, what religion you were. Genuine people got together and occupied Wall Street. And all these big wigs there were like, holy shit, they're onto us. The elites were like, they are onto us. So what happened straight after Occupy Wall Street? Wokeism came out of nowhere. We had the peak of comedy, 2008. What, Tropic Thunder was peak, where you didn't matter what you said. You could say whatever. You have a black guy, or a white guy playing as a black guy. You have every single thing being said. And all of a sudden that changed because the elites and the finance system knew, okay, crap, they're onto us. We need to create culture wars. We need to create race wars. We need to create a left versus right war. So this is where I'm grappling now. And my content is, I am a victim to helping the culture war. Like sometimes I do play into the left and right. As a Christian, I'm starting to acknowledge this more. And that's why I started the podcast with this stuff, because I guess my message with this podcast and why I made the trip up here, and thank you for having me here, by the way, was to go to tell my followers and tell people of Australia I'm working on something that's kind of bigger than the culture wars right now. It's in my mind and I'm trying to express it openly, but I want to distill it into a way that's nicer for you guys so that everyone can understand it without it being too esoteric. Because if it's too esoteric, it won't connect with the people. I mean, you want to connect with everyone and reach their hearts and make a real difference to the world. And that has to happen through, I think, a theological, philosophical understanding that can actually transform the consciousness and get it to that next level. So that's kind of the issue right now. I think we can't actually do anything about this, really. because the elites just have too much power. They like even our platforms. Okay, me, Sam, Choco. Yeah, we've got 200. Choco's almost at 500,000 followers. Sam's on 300. I'm on 200,000 followers. Joel's on 200,000 followers as well. Like that could shut us down. Like we don't own our platforms. Meta owns our platforms. We don't own our banks. We don't own anything. Everything we do is an illusion. Everything we do is not real. Like these are all controlled entities. Nothing we do is sovereign. They allow our voices to go out there. They could shut this all down in 2 seconds. So I'm aware of that. I'm not stupid. So for me to succeed in this industry, I know I have to play their game. And I know they know that because I talk to them all the time about it. Like they know I know I'm aware of them, and we talk to each other quite intimately about these topics. So I'm happy they allow me to exist, but I know if they want me gone, they want me gone.
Yeah.
So there is a game to play, and I think the only real game to play is through as I said before, and why I'm trying to reconnect everyone to their consciousness, it's actually the prayer. It's actually the consciousness experience of humanity, because consciousness, it spreads. So if we reach, like Christ consciousness was a moment when Christ came, changed the world fundamentally forever. It was genie out of the bottle, couldn't change it. We are due for another version of that, like an update. Think about like we're iPhones and we're due for another update. Our update is coming. And the elites are trying to stop the update from happening. I think that's kind of the game. But the reality is you can't stop the update. It's going to happen regardless. And then when that update happens, all of humanity will shift again. And then the jobs of the elites is to go, okay, the update has happened. Now how do we centralize it? How do we control it again? Just like we saw Christianity. Christianity was a consciousness update. And Roman Empire was like, there's a conscious update that just happened. How do we gain control? How do we gain power over it? We'll create systems around it. Now there's going to be another update soon. I can feel it in all my bones and feel it in all my... everything I do. So I guess my job is to facilitate that update, allow it to happen, and then when it does happen, help the people understand what this update really means, because it'll be quite overwhelming. And I think this is why doing these podcasts and my content's important, but I'm also very aware that at any moment it could be just turned off. Because I mean, if this update is so powerful and out of control and the elites feel like they're losing grip, they will go to the most extreme lengths. And I'm talking world wars. Like that pandemic, COVID pandemic, that was nothing. That was a 0.01% mortality rate. You have no idea what kind of pandemics could happen, what kind of death can be inflicted on the human population if they feel like they're losing control. So I'm aware of all of that as well. And that's why we got to be careful what we do and what we say. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what we say is not what really matters. What we think, what we pray is what really matters. And so we've got to get to that level of prayer as well for all of us together.
You're obviously now political. People would think you're political.
Yeah.
But what you've spoken about for the last half an hour or so we've been here has been quite a deep, there's a deep mindset attached to it all. And it's a lot deeper than, say, politics. It's a lot deeper than Pauline Hanson or Malcolm Roberts or Albanese or even Donald Trump. Or it's way deeper. Do you have the opinion that politics itself is really just a show? I know you talked about it, 70% being how you look and 30% policy. It even sounds now like you don't really believe that there's a way to vote our way out of this per se. And I subscribe to a lot of these thoughts myself. Interesting for the viewers to see you talk about this. How do you feel that politics, does it actually have its own route, or is it completely controlled?
It's a yes or no. So... I'll quickly go into the history of politics. So politics and democracy and all this stuff is actually, it's an ancient Greek phenomena, right? In terms of the way it was turned into what we see today.
Yep.
But you got to remember, politics and drama, the drama, which was like plays and shows, came together. They were brother and sister in creation. Politics and drama went hand in hand. So in ancient Greece, if there was something political happening, the richest of the time, their tax system there was they would donate back to the state. So the rich elites there would donate a play to the state, and then the common people would go watch the play, and the play was worked around what they were trying to achieve politically. So the drama itself, which people would engulf and ingest, were what the politicians and the elites wanted at the time.
Early propaganda.
Yeah, early propaganda through media.
Programming.
Exactly.
Same as Netflix. I find it hard to watch Netflix now because I'm like, nothing I watch is going to really... I can't watch a documentary on Netflix because I'm going to hear their version in the documentary, right?
And this is quite important why I brought up when you asked who I was. Humans are like TVs. So we can tune into channels. So when I talk about transgenderism and young kids, why is transgenderism happening with young kids so much? Because if we are all little TVs, right? And the government knows that we're all little TVs because they're aware. They're esoterically super alert to this. They're like the super intelligence of all this stuff. They know that if they want to hurt the youth or hurt men, they can tune the kids into transgenderism. And they do that by re-engaging them with their past lives where they might have been a different gender. So the kids generally do feel like, and even adults do feel like they are in the wrong body because they are spiritually being tuned into a different past life where they were a different body, a different gender. That's why it's so real for these people. So that's why I actually show a bit of empathy because I went through this and I was lucky that I went through it naturally and I was the same gender. But if you are tapped into a different past life where you were a different gender and you're living in this existence where you are, but you're still not aware of the past life, then it'll be a very hard existence. And that's why you see the suicide rate so high, because if you're still stuck in the past life, but you're living into a different body, that will cause spiritual illness, which then leads to mental illness, which then leads to body illness and ultimately sacrifice, which is suicide, mental health, death, doing terrible things, raping, pedophilia, all that stuff is linked to that. So it is much deeper than we think. And yes, politics is a show. It's in its very definition is a brother and sister of politics, drama, ancient Greece. It's all connected. If you just study history even a little bit, you'll see that. So that's why, yes, what I'm saying, some people say, oh, this isn't politics. This is politics. Politics is the show. So I want everyone at home to know that if you really want to change the world, it doesn't start really with how you vote, because ultimately that will just corrupt. Whoever takes power will be corrupted eventually. It happens to everyone. Even like with Pauline Hanson and One Nation, I mean, they still have foreign lobby groups. They still have in their midst. Every group does. So I'm not having a go at Pauline Hanson. I'm not saying don't vote One Nation. What I'm saying is that ultimately that is a show, and they might not even know that they're a show. Like they might not be consciously aware of this. That's the beauty of this stuff, that it's a competent, incompetent system. So this is how it works. Very simply. Things happen that it's out of control of everyone. It's like divine existence, divine manifestation. The elites are hyper aware. They have all the facilities, all the technology, all the knowledge. They see what's happening, then they centralize it. Yeah. And then they try and create competent systems which are incompetent to try and deal with it. And then that's the cycle. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Things happen, the elites react, the normies are then held into place. And we're the sheep, and we're like the ones who are basically fodder in this whole situation. So we are victims to existence itself. The only way out of this existence is through prayer, is through connecting with the universe. I'll just say, I'll use the words because a lot of people who aren't Christians, but if you connect to your introspective self, like connect to yourself in your mind, that's the only way out of all of this.
When you reference universe, are you talking for yourself, the Father, or?
So what I'm trying to get at, there is a duality and non-duality of the universe. So Christ is beyond non-duality, is infinite, and is beyond, like the love is forever. Love for everyone, love your enemy, love everything, right? Then you have the Buddhistic thing is like a detachment, duality, good versus evil, light versus dark, up and down, trees and the roots. So when I say the universe, you're just connecting with those aspects,
right? So
the good versus evil. So there is something important about that. But true prayer is beyond duality. So beyond good versus evil. It's God is beyond all those things. So in a Christian sense, to your Christian audience out there, just to get back with it, so I don't confuse you guys too much. When you're praying to God, you're praying to divine, the Holy Spirit, something beyond all these dualistic concepts. Right. So you got to understand you're a material person living in a material world. So you have to deal with things like hot and cold, rain, no rain. So you have to live with these duality stuff. But when you pray, you're going beyond all of that and you're going to a divine space where it's pure, clean, and you can ask for anything. And your imagination, your prayer can be anything. So I think ultimately that's the true politics, is prayer. And even go back to kings, right? If we go back a bit, kings who had their people praying for them were good kings. So like if you're a good king, you're doing the best for your people and the people are praying for you, then you're doing a good job. It's when the people stop praying for you and the king can feel that and feels uneasy. That's when he starts lashing out, beheading people, going to war unnecessarily. You see the same thing playing out in politics. So it's the same thing happening now. My advice to everyone is, I'm saying One Nation is something that's out of control. Like it's part of the divine plan. I'm not saying don't vote for them, but just be aware that the elites are working in the background to try and centralize this as well, and they always will. So it might be the right move now. Same with Trump. People want to have a go at Trump, the Epstein files, all this stuff. Trump was a phenomenon, something out of control. I think Trump, in his heart of heart, is a good Christian. He might have done some horrible sin in the past. All of us are sinners. We've all done bad things. And that's why I say, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on all of us. We are all sinners. Trump might have gone one step further ahead. We don't know yet. We'll still find out with these files. But even if you listen to that interview on the plane where Trump's like, you see that interview, he's like, oh, are you going to go to heaven? Trump's like, I don't think I'm going to go to heaven.
Yeah.
It was like quite an intimate, real moment with Trump where you see him actually open up for the first time.
Yeah.
Almost being real. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to go to heaven. So when I watched that, I was like, he's onto something. I think he knows he's done some bad stuff, but he wants to try and make amends in some way. So when we look at our heroes, our political heroes, none of them are going to be pure.
Yeah.
We're all asking for this pure hero, this guy who's done nothing wrong. I'm sorry, guys. We already had that. Jesus Christ was our hero like that. We don't have that now. Any human who comes up politically, they are not going to be pure. They are going to be full of sin. They've probably all done disgusting things, unspeakable things.
Yeah.
You're asking for something that's impossible. So humans are riddled with sin. So what we could do is just pray for the best for these people. Ask for mercy. We are all sinners. They are sinners.
Are you a believer of people who rise to the top of their game, especially in politics, entertainment, and arts? Are you kind of the belief that people who rise very quickly are very much risen on purpose, tapped on the shoulder, owned, spoken for? Do you subscribe to that kind of? That is part of the elitism. I see certain actors or say musicians or artists who come from nowhere. And then all of a sudden they are mega famous. It goes back to the old, like they sold
like industry plants and stuff.
Industry plants, like
I think there's an element of industry plants. I think there's kind of like what China did the Olympic Games. They get bioengineered humans and put them in and let them. The
way you've just responded, then, for some people, this is the whole game.
Yeah,
you've just made it. Your response made it feel like that is small fry.
Yeah. Is
that how you feel? Like, there's industry plants, but it goes a lot deeper than that.
There's industry plants and then there's uncontrollable plant. There's uncontrollable people. Like I said, there's like a divine, like the universe has its, and God has plans. And then the elites are trying to control those plans, essentially. It's like Lucifer's like trying to come and go, oh, God.
Right.
Stop, God. Stop messing up my plan. So it's like a battle of good and evil. We're really in a holy war, essentially. A holy battle of good spirits. It's kind of like Star Wars. This is why Star Wars is such a great show. It's the Force. The Force is always in balance, right? If there's too much Sith Lord, then the Force will bring in a Jedi who's...
I hate to tell you, I've never seen it.
What?
But so give me, while you're speaking, I'll never watch it.
Why?
Because I just never will. I'm not into sci-fi stuff or
it's
Star
Christian.
Wars.
Star Wars is Christian.
Seen it. I'll have to watch it one day.
Okay, you got to see it.
But keep going with your analogy.
Basically, the whole analogy of Star Wars is that there is the Force, and the Force is has to be in balance. So is that the good, which is like godly Christian, and the bad, which is like Lucifer, sinful.
Right.
So anytime the evil side gets too powerful, the Force will always bring in like a Luke Skywalker figure or someone to balance the Force out, like a chosen one. So to bring balance to the Force. So the world kind of works that way as well. So yes, evil, like I'll tell you right now, if like people want to have this defeatist attitude, oh, the world's completely cooked. If the world's completely cooked, trust me, it'd be next level. Like there'd be death, destruction, human sacrifice at a much greater level. Like you've only seen a small amount. Like when the Aztecs were killing people, it's like tens of thousands a day killing people, right? So there is good and evil at every level. And that's why I get upset about these, like all my followers sometimes, oh, George, you don't have a God. These people are off. There are battles happening at every level, from the top to the bottom. The elites isn't just like 100 people who are all evil. It's about, I'd say there's 70 evil and 30 good people up there fighting a battle. And there's a very precautious war there.
How big of a deal do you think the Epstein stuff is?
Look, it's hard to say. We live in a world of AI now. So who knows what these photos are? Who knows these documents? How much, like AI? They have SI. Like whatever AI we have access to in the public is 10 years behind what the elites have. So the technology we have access to is 10 years behind what they have access to. So we don't know what level of super intelligence and what level of manipulation these files have gone under. Like, that's just the reality.
I agree.
You know? So
my initial thoughts on it, right? And we're not going to go anywhere near as deep as you've just taken. You've taken us into some deep waters.
Yeah,
the last
sorry about
50
that,
minutes,
guys.
Right? It's been great. It's been good. It's good being the third smartest person in the room with 3 people in here. It's good.
I know nothing.
My initial thought with it, and I am someone, I wouldn't say a Trump fan. I support Trump. I've been supporting him the whole time. I believe that his decisions have been good for a long time, right? I think as Christians or as people or as mature adults, we have the ability for like discernment, right? You need to be able to discern, are things good or bad? The whole Epstein thing, I just don't see it with Trump. I actually don't see it with, say, I don't see Bill Clinton doing some of the things that I might say, we might have to cut this out or not, but I see Bill Gates doing a lot worse things than Bill Clinton. I look at Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, probably similar. I think they're probably into hookers back in the day and stuff like that. Big difference between that and kids on an island and child sacrifice and satanic cults. And I also think, considering how long these documents, how real we know they are or aren't, how long they've been in the other administration's hands and who's had them, how do we know? I mean, you and I could make those documents, right?
Yeah.
So you and I could sit
6
there.
million documents. I mean, I think a SI could do that in a matter of hours, to do some fancy things.
And it's not hard to fake it or fraud it. So how do we know without discernment and without, even if they brought out imagery or video, how are you going to know?
All of
It's
those
no
images, like, could be AI. That's the problem. Like, that's why I'm watching and I want to make content. I haven't made content in 3 days and I want to make content, but at the same time, part of my little inner spirit's kicking going, George, this stuff.
It's not it.
It's not it, eh?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. So like, it's never been it. Like, you know, this is a show. You know that they only give you what they want you to see. There's no way the government released those files innocently like that.
And we already, I mean, maybe it serves its purpose for people who have been living with their head in the sand and they just want to buy their little house and their investment property and raise 2 kids and just do life and it's all good. And, you know, property prices go up and you make some money and petrol goes up and it goes down and One Nation might get one in one day or the Democrats are in and that's life.
Yeah.
And maybe for those people, maybe for most of us, we're kind of like, oh no, there's satanic cult people running the world. There's stuff going on. Alex Jones, his head would be exploding right now because he's like, I've been belting this message for 15 years.
Yeah.
That's right. But for all of us, we're kind of like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
We know, but no, we don't think Trump is the guy.
Well, I'm 2 ways about this. I think part of me thinks that what actually happened is 100 million times worse and we'll never really see it.
I
and
agree.
I think the AI, whatever they used, has watered it down to like a 1%. And what we've seen is literally nothing compared to the darkness. And the only reason I say that is because I've studied ancient history all about 10,000 years. And if you really study ancient history and you know what humans are capable of in terms of evil, the way Satan can do things, that's nothing. That is nothing. And if we knew the real truth about what was actually happening and is happening still to this very day, I don't think we could walk around like it would be a war. Like it would be a war.
Do you think it's serving its purpose? You know, for instance, I've got 3 sisters, none of them who would watch the show, none of them who are very political, who even think about this stuff, right? If they were now to watch the news and they would still believe in the news, right? So that's their source of information.
Was it tuning?
Yes, exactly. So for them, do we believe that the release of the information is a positive or a negative? I think it's a positive, right, for people like that.
Yeah.
Because it's waking them up to at least come and have a look at what we're talking about.
It goes back to the drama. It's just drama.
Yeah.
It's more slop for the normies to ingest and us political commentators and us to make content around. And then we can get our little clicks and feel important and go, oh yeah, look what we did. We're going to get another 10,000 followers because I made a video. But the reality is it's way worse than we could ever imagine and we'll never know the truth. That's just my honest take on it. That's literally, I think all these documents are probably, I reckon 99% of them, I think they're half-baked in truths that are 10 times worse than we'll ever see. That's
I looked at it as thought, I think it's just, you got a whole bunch of truth and they've just peppered it with a lot of lies.
It'd be a prompt like, hey, chat, can you take these 6 million files and dilute it to make it 99% less evil? And then the SI they would have like super intelligent SI. We'll call it SI, super intelligence. We'll go in like a matter of hours, 6 million files, put the black dots, the photos, everything.
Yeah.
Probably use tremendous amount of water, but it'll get job done. Bang. Okay, we got the files, start releasing them. We'll do it in sections. Same with these Pfizer files when they initially come out. They'll probably do the same thing. Like the thing about AI is it's come out at the perfect time. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like perfect timing for AI to come out to the public. To just cause so much more confusion. It adds to the play, adds to the drama of everything we're dealing with.
Perfect timing for the bad guys.
Exactly.
Because the public we're coming to this point where we're waking up.
Yeah.
More and more people, they are starting to rebel.
Yeah.
They are starting to rise up, wake up, want to fight back. I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that people are going to slowly just go back to sleep. I have hope that we won't.
No.
For a long time, I thought that, people were just going to go back to business as usual. And then another COVID, but worse, will hit and something will happen. They'll tighten up control. I've changed my tune on that. I actually think that we're in a point where I don't think we're going back to how it was. I think people won't just go back to sleep. I think people have changed. It might take a few generations of nothing and then people would go back. But I think everyone who's alive right now aren't going to go back to a sleep.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for as well. That's what I'm saying. The next update's coming. It's going to happen. I don't think people will ever be the same. But now the next step is, okay, how does it be centralized?
How do you see our financial system in the next 20 years?
Well, I think the financial system is already in freefall collapse. I think it's been failing for the last 20 years, and now it's just like controlled decline.
Descent, yeah.
It's controlled decline. I think initially what they'll want is to create a universal income system. I think that's why the pandemic was perfect, because they got so much data to see how humans would react if they just live without working and get given money here and there. So I think ultimately we are moving towards a social credit system style of existence, digital ID, universal income for everyone. It'll be a 2-tier system. The elites will have, all the money, all the wealth, all the jobs, all the property, and then the rest of us will have to live in this like social credit system where you have to behave a certain way, follow the rules. If you don't, you're not going to get given public access to transport, to money, to health, to all those things.
You believe Australia could be a testing ground for that?
Yeah, Australia's always been traditionally a testing. Look at PayWave. They tested that in Australia first. There's different technologies that are rolled out in Australia first. We're the perfect population because we are, we're an intelligent population. We're a small population. We're easy to monitor population. We have facilities here to, do the work. So they will definitely, test out all the alpha stuff here first, gather all the data, then they'll be like, okay, what's the big term to globalize this plan? So yeah, I think Australia is definitely, a place where you can kind of foreshadow what the future will look like. I think my message moving forward is, in terms of Australia, look, there is hope. I think, reality is it's uncontrollable in a sense, but it's controllable. You can control your thoughts. You can do your best for your family, for your communities, for yourself. If you can take care of your family, take care of your friends, take care of the community, vote in the way that feels good to you. So don't be disheartened by One Nation or Liberal, Labor, whatever. Like, wherever you want to vote, it will be meaningful. But ultimately, it will be also centralized at some point. Like, the elites will step in and try and fix it. They're fixers. Stuff will happen. They come fix it because they want the control. Just like the Roman Empire did, just like the Persian Empire did, just like Alexander the Great when he died and the generals have left the empire. Like, it happens. It happens all the time. It's a rinse and repeat effort all the time.
What about in a complete uprise? What about a complete, people have had enough, they go to war.
Like French Revolution style?
Yeah, exactly. How do you feel that? Do you think that just it buys a bit of time, you start again?
I just don't see God created free will. I just don't see God. Humans aren't meant to be these violent creatures. I think God's love is so profound. It's very hard for me to see a situation where we're just going and killing everything and killing everyone and burning everything down. I can see it happening in small pockets, like we saw in Nepal, like we're seeing in Iran. Like, I can see it happening in micro cases, but as a whole world,
ultimately, you believe in His ultimate perfect timing.
Yeah, I think God's purpose is bigger than the material world. Ultimately, I think this material world is it feels really important to us because of our ego. Our ego wants to make everything so potent and so strong and so real.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately this is not the final chapter of our love, like God's love is bigger than this. And I think that's why I kind of want to bring it down to the personal thing. Like I think personally, what you do with your life is more important than what's happening in life.
How do we now, as we sort of come to the last, say, chapter of this conversation, one of which I think we're going to have about 5 more sessions, by the way, George. I'm just scratching the surface on who in the world you are. Okay, but it's been really good and interesting. I think people get a lot out of this. It's especially if they thought they were tuning into. We haven't even talked about the issues in Australia or even the world, but it's been good. This has been much. This is the core of it.
Yeah.
We haven't touched on the surface stuff, but I always want to give the viewer. It's not just like the hope pill. It's like, man, what's your message for people what should they focus on? Because ultimately, you want everyone to find the love of Christ, right?
Yep.
You want everyone who doesn't believe. What's some of your mission around that?
Okay, well, this is where my work with Turning Point is important. And I get a lot of criticism. Oh, Turning Point's connected to America. And it's like Turning Point Australia is its own kind of thing. Like we have the name. We have Charlie Kirk's entity, like his vision, his Christian love.
Yeah.
But the reason why when I was announced with Turning Point South Australia was I said it's grounded in orthodoxy. So I think the Orthodox Church for humanity is by far the most closest church to the realness, the mystery of Christ. And I do ask people to take a serious look at orthodoxy as a way to live. I think ultimately, in terms of Australian politics, vote the way that you feel speaks to you. So pray on it. And if you're not a God-fearing man or you're not Christian or whatever, you're an atheist, look at it logically. Look at it with common sense. So kind of like that common sense attitude. So common sense and God's love kind of work together. They're kind of the same thing, even if you don't want to acknowledge it. So vote with common sense. Understand that your vote will matter. So it will create a change, but ultimately that change will become centralized at some point and then be ready for the next step. But ultimately, the most important thing is what you do with your own life and the direct community around you. And I'll say this, a smile can change someone's life. So the way you live your life can change your community. And the way the community lives its life can change the world. So you can literally change the world by doing small things. And that's why the idea of incarnation, reincarnation is so important. If you know that you keep coming back, you keep doing more good things, then we're all eventually going to get to perfect love again. So that's why I don't really fear death, like in its truest sense, because ultimately it doesn't really matter. What matters is, can we make a 1% difference in this current life? Can Brody right now make a 1% difference for the better in this life, regardless of all the sin you've done? We've all done terrible sins, right? We're humans. You can't change that.
Yeah.
You're not God. I'm not God. We've all done some sinful stuff, but what's the good stuff you've done? That's kind of how you should look. How can I be the best version of myself every single day? No matter what illness you're dealing with, what problems you're dealing with at home, how much money you make, money is really irrelevant. Like it's nice. It's just ego though, really. The way you love your friends, your family, your community, that's what is really the most important thing. The way you take care of your mind. And you're going to see in the material world, they'll use things like microplastics. You got so much radiation. You got so much things that you're fighting all the time. And if you get too caught up in that, you're going to dilute your experience of life itself. So I think that's my message is be the very best version of yourself every single day. Be prepared to make mistakes. Be prepared to sin. You're going to sin a lot, but be prepared to ask for mercy. Ask Christ for mercy every single day, every single second if you can. That's why learning the Lord Jesus prayer is the most important prayer to ever learn. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. And you repeat that every single day. Any moment you feel like you need to repeat that, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. Or Lord Jesus Christ, thank you for your mercy. Thank God for your mercy. And just know God's love is forever. He is a father. He's never going to just cast us aside. He's not going to send us to a place called hell. He wants us to be the very best version of ourselves. If that takes 1,000 lives, then it takes 1,000 lives. That's how I live my life, and that's how I'd ask everyone else to live their life. Know that God's love is infinite, that there's no like rush, but try and do your best. Doesn't mean be a lazy bastard and not do anything, but you don't have to change the whole world overnight. Bro doesn't have to sit here and be like an Alexander the Great and take over the whole world. If Brody can do a 1% change in this life, you've done your job, mate. Like, good on you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And then keep moving forward that way. That's, I think, the most important thing.
Final question. When people look back and they look across your platform or the work you've done, and it's not an egotistical question, but I like to ask, yes, how do you want to be remembered? I know you're, I won't go into your relationships, but I know you're married now, right?
Yep.
I'm not sure if people know that, but you're married now, which is
Yep.
amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm sure kids are going to be on the way at some point. All that's going to happen. How does George want to be? I'm going to do it again so the clip's good. How does George want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? I think George would love to be remembered as a man who tried his best, who failed and was okay with failure, who shared about his failures, who ultimately wanted everyone to love each other, and to reconnect everyone with God. I think ultimately if that could be my legacy, if I could help people reconnect back to God, back to love, back to the infinite, and back to just some level of hope around that would be my ultimate dream. The Adelaide Set, my platform that I've built, has always been about that. How can you be the best version of yourself every single day? How can you build a little small business and make that yours? How could you become a better soccer player, a better football player, a better golfer, a better father, a better husband, better mother? Those things are important to me. And also, I want you guys to know I'm an extremely flawed human being. So if my legacy is full of flaws, it is. I struggle with my health. I struggle with thoughts. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with everything that you guys struggle with back at home. So I'm not I'm completely flawed. I'm completely full of sin. So I don't want to leave a legacy of like this some perfect character. I'm just as flawed as everyone else is. And that's okay because you are loved and your Father loves you more than anything else in this world. So that's kind of, I think, my legacy.
George Mamalis, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for watching all the way to the end. As always, the best thing you can do to help us is simply subscribe. That's all I'm going to ask for you. Subscribe to the channel. We appreciate your support, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.